Part 1. The sky above Earth turned dark at noon. Not from clouds or storms, but from the massive alien ships that appeared without warning. They materialized in orbit like ghosts becoming solid, blocking out the sun with their enormous hulls. Admiral Jinho stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station, watching his screens fill with red warning signals. His hands gripped the railing so hard his knuckles turned white. "How many?" he asked quietly. 300 capital ships, sir," his officer replied. "Each one is 10 times larger than our biggest vessel." Jinho closed his eyes for a moment. Earth's entire orbital fleet consisted of 200 ships, cobbled together from different nations over the past 50 years. They were meant to protect against asteroids and small threats, not an invasion force from another star system. A transmission came through on all frequencies. The face that appeared on the screens was not human. Gray skin stretched over angular features with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. When it spoke, the translation software converted the sounds into words every human could understand. "Primitive species of Earth. I am Commander Velmoth of the Crithian Dominion. Your world has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 30 days to surrender your governments and military forces. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. The alien ships remained in orbit, silent and menacing. President Hana called an emergency meeting within the hour. World leaders gathered virtually from every nation, their faces showing the same expression: fear. General after general presented their assessments. The conclusions were all the same. Earth's weapons could barely scratch the alien shields. Their energy weapons could vaporize cities from orbit. Humanity had no chance in a direct fight. "We should negotiate," said one leader. "Perhaps they will show mercy." "They called us primitive," another argued. "They see us as insects to be crushed." Jinho attended the meeting remotely from his station. He said nothing as the arguments went back and forth. He had seen war before, fought in the territorial disputes that nearly tore Earth apart before humanity finally united. He knew what desperate fighting looked like. This was not desperation. This was mathematics, and the numbers did not lie. 3,000 kilometers below in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Yuna was having a very different day. She had been studying the strange structures in the Mariana Trench for 15 years. Most people ignored her work. Deep ocean archaeology was not glamorous. It did not get funding or attention. But Yuna had found something that kept her coming back year after year. There was a door at the bottom of the trench, a door that should not exist. It was massive, carved from metal that did not corrode despite being underwater for thousands of years. Symbols covered its surface, symbols that looked almost like writing but predated any known human language. Yuna had mapped every centimeter of it, sent thousands of samples for analysis, and written dozens of papers that nobody read. Today, something changed. The door was glowing. Faint blue light pulsed from the symbols, growing brighter with each pulse. Yuna's submarine instruments went crazy with readings, energy signatures that made no sense, radiation that did not match any known element. "Are you seeing this?" She radioed to her surface ship. "We see it, Doctor." "What is it?" "I don't know," Yuna whispered. She had spent 15 years studying this door. She had never seen it active before. The timing seemed impossible to ignore. The aliens arrive in orbit and suddenly this ancient structure wakes up. She took her submarine closer, her heart pounding. The door was 3 kilometers wide. The symbols were forming patterns now, lighting up in sequences that reminded her of computer code. Something was happening. Something was responding to the threat above. Back in orbit, Admiral Jinho received an odd message. A marine archaeologist wanted to speak to him urgently about a discovery. He almost deleted it. There was an alien fleet threatening humanity. He had no time for archaeological curiosities. But his tactical officer, Daehyun, stopped him. "Sir, look at the energy readings she's reporting. They match the alien ship signatures." Jinho frowned. "That's impossible. Those readings are from the ocean floor." "I know, sir, but the numbers don't lie." Within an hour, Yuna was on a video call with the Admiral and the President. She showed them everything. The door, the symbols, the energy readings. She showed them the dating analysis that proved the structure was over 200,000 years old. She showed them something else too. Scans of other trenches around the world. Similar structures existed in the Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic. Everywhere humanity had explored deep enough. "What are they?" President Hana asked. I don't know, Yuna admitted, but they're responding to the alien presence. They've been dormant for millennia, and now they're waking up. That cannot be coincidence. Could they be weapons? Daehyun asked. Left by some ancient civilization? Maybe, or maybe there's something else. Yuna pulled up more data. The symbols match fragments from myths around the world. Atlantis, Lemuria, the underwater kingdoms, and Korean legends. Every culture has stories about something beneath the ocean. What if those stories are memories? What if something really is down there? Jinho looked at the alien fleet on his monitors. 28 days until the deadline. Earth's military could not stop them. Politicians were already talking about surrender. Some nations were preparing to capitulate independently. Humanity was fracturing when it needed unity most. Can you open it? He asked. The door? I've been trying for 15 years. Try harder, Doctor. We have nothing else. 2 days later, Velmoth demonstrated the consequences of resistance. A small uninhabited island in the Pacific vanished in a flash of light. The energy beam came from orbit, struck the island, and left nothing but boiling ocean. The message was clear. Surrender or die. Panic spread through Earth's cities. Riots broke out. Some people demanded immediate surrender. Others wanted to fight to the last. President Hana declared martial law in several regions just to maintain order. In the depths of the Mariana Trench, Yuna worked around the clock. She tried every combination of signals, every frequency, every pattern. The door continued to glow but remained sealed. She was running out of time. They all were. Then, on the third day, her submarine's computer did something unexpected. It ran an analysis of her DNA from a medical scan in its database. The results were sent to the door's interface panel. The door responded immediately. The symbols flashed bright blue, then turned green. A message appeared in perfect modern Korean on her display screen. Biological signature recognized. Inheritor status confirmed. Authorization requested. Yuna's hands shook as she read the words again. Inheritor. Authorization. The door was not just reacting to her. It was recognizing her. Recognizing humanity. Open, she said aloud, then typed the command into her console. Deep in the trench, ancient mechanisms began to move. The massive door started to split apart. Lights flickered to life in the darkness beyond, illuminating something that made Yuna's breath catch in her throat. Ships. Thousands of ships. Maybe millions. All of them waiting in the dark. Part 5. 1 year after the fleet rose from the oceans, Earth was transforming. The precursor technology, carefully integrated with human ingenuity, was lifting humanity into a new age. Diseases that had killed millions were now curable. Clean energy-powered cities without pollution. Food production had tripled, ending hunger in regions that had suffered for generations. But the greatest change was not technological. It was psychological. Humanity now knew it was not alone in the universe, and that knowledge changed everything. People looked at the stars differently now, seeing not empty space but a vast community waiting to be explored. Dr. Yuna stood in the main archive facility, her team surrounding her as they unveiled their latest discovery. The precursor database contained coordinates, hundreds of them, thousands, each one marking a world where the ancient civilization had planted seeds of life. They did not just create humanity. Yuna explained to President Hana and Admiral Jinho during a secure briefing. They seeded potential sapient life across the entire galaxy. Some of those species are probably spacefaring by now. Others might still be primitive. But they all carry the same genetic markers, the same legacy. How many worlds? President Hana asked. Based on the data, at least 10,000. Maybe more. The precursors wanted to ensure intelligent life would survive even if they failed. We are part of a much larger family than we realized. Admiral Jinho studied the star maps, his tactical mind already working. Some of these coordinates are in Dominion space, in territory controlled by other empires. If we try to contact these worlds, we could be seen as interfering. Or we could be seen as doing what the precursors intended, Yuna countered. Shepherding the next generation. Offering help instead of conquest. The debate that followed was intense. Half of Earth's governments wanted to focus inward, consolidating their gains, using the precursor technology to build paradise on Earth. The other half wanted to reach out, to find their sibling species and offer assistance. It was Ambassador Somin who finally convinced the Council. The galaxy already fears us, she said. They see our fleet and imagine conquest. But what if we prove them wrong? What if we use our power to protect species that cannot protect themselves? That would be unprecedented. It would change how every civilization in the galaxy thinks about power. The decision was made. Earth would begin a program of first contact with the seeded worlds. Not invasion, not exploitation, just contact, offering friendship, technology, and protection to species that might be facing the same threats humanity had overcome. Captain Minjun was promoted to commander and given charge of the first contact fleet. 20 ships, carefully selected crews, and a mission that would take decades to complete. They would visit the nearest seeded worlds, make contact, and offer help if requested. The first world they visited was called Sarum by its inhabitants. The species there looked humanoid but with subtle differences, adaptations to their higher gravity world. They were at a similar technological level to where Earth had been 50 years ago. Just reaching for space, just beginning to wonder if they were alone. Minjun's fleet appeared in orbit carefully, making no aggressive moves. They broadcast greetings in every frequency, using mathematical patterns that any intelligent species would recognize. It took 3 days of cautious communication before the Sarum people agreed to meet. The first contact went well. The Sarum were amazed to learn they were part of a larger family. They had their own legends about beings from the sky, myths that Minjun now understood were racial memories of the precursors. When he offered technology and assistance, they were grateful but cautious. "We do not want to become dependent on you," the Sarum leader said. "We want to earn our place among the stars." "We understand," Minjun replied. "We will share knowledge, not control. You will grow at your own pace. But if threats come from space, know that you are not alone. Earth will stand with you." The news of successful first contact spread through the galaxy. Other civilizations watched with confusion and growing interest. This was not how powerful species normally behaved. Usually, advanced races either ignored primitive worlds or exploited them. Earth was doing neither. Not everyone approved. The Dominion issued formal complaints about Earth interfering in their sphere of influence. Several smaller empires accused humanity of building an alliance network, preparing for eventual expansion. They could not believe Earth's motives were genuine, but actions spoke louder than accusations. Over the next 2 years, Earth made contact with 17 seeded worlds. Some were primitive, barely past Stone Age technology. Others were more advanced, already exploring their own star systems. Each time, humanity offered the same thing: knowledge, friendship, and protection if needed. The galaxy began to shift. Species that had been enslaved by empires like the Dominion started asking questions. Why should they accept domination when Earth offered cooperation? Resistance movements formed, inspired by humanity's example. The old order was cracking. Admiral Jinho, now promoted to fleet commander, watched these developments with mixed feelings. "We are changing the balance of power," he told President Hana. "The old empires will not tolerate this forever. Eventually, they will see us as a threat that must be eliminated." "Perhaps," Hana replied. "Or perhaps they will see we are building something better. A galactic community based on mutual respect instead of conquest. It is worth the risk." The test came sooner than expected. The Dominion, facing internal rebellions inspired by Earth's example, made a decision. They could not attack Earth directly, not with the precursor fleet defending it. But they could attack Earth's new allies, demonstrating that humanity could not protect everyone. A Dominion fleet appeared at Sarum, the first world Minjun had contacted. They issued an ultimatum: submit to Dominion rule or be destroyed. It was a challenge aimed directly at Earth. Would humanity really fight to protect another species? The answer was immediate. Commander Minjun's fleet jumped into Sarum space within hours. But this time, he did not come alone. Earth had sent 50 ships, a clear message that they took their promises seriously. The Dominion fleet numbered over 100 vessels, but Minjun's precursor technology gave him the advantage. The battle was fierce, but short. Earth's ships danced through Dominion formations, disabling vessels with precision strikes. Minjun targeted weapons and engines, avoiding casualties when possible, but making it clear that Earth would not back down. When the Dominion fleet limped away, damaged but intact, the message was sent: Earth would protect its friends. The precursor fleet was not just for defense of the homeworld. It was a shield for all who stood with humanity. The consequences rippled across the galaxy. The Dominion faced a choice: escalate into a war they might lose or accept the new reality. They chose acceptance. Reforms began within the Dominion, democratic movements gaining strength inspired by the fact that humans had proven tyranny could be resisted. Other empires watched and learned. Some began their own reforms, fearing their populations might rebel as the Dominions had. Others reached out to Earth, seeking alliances and trade agreements. The galaxy was reorganizing around a new principle: cooperation instead of domination. On Earth, people celebrated these victories, but Dr. Yuna remained focused on the deeper truth. She had found something else in the precursor archives, a final message that had been locked until humanity proved it would not abuse its power. She shared it with a small group. President Hana, Admiral Jinho, Ambassador Soman, and Commander Minjun. The message was a recording, showing the last gathering of the Precursor Council as their civilization collapsed around them. "If you are seeing this," the Precursor leader said, her face showing both sorrow and hope, "then you have succeeded where we failed. You have power but choose wisdom. You fight when necessary but prefer peace. You are what we hoped to create but could never become ourselves." The recording showed the scale of precursor failure. Worlds burned, species extinct, a civilization that had spanned the galaxy reduced to ruins by its own weapons. The surviving precursors had poured everything they had left into the seeding program, hoping that somewhere among the stars, their children would be better than they were. "We left you the fleet," the recording continued, "not as a weapon of conquest but as a test. Would you use overwhelming power to dominate? Or would you use it to protect? You chose protection. Now we ask you to complete our work. Find the other seeded species. Guide them. Teach them. Help them avoid our mistakes. Build the galactic community we dreamed of but could never create." The message ended with coordinates. Not just thousands of seeded worlds, but the locations of other precursor caches, ships, technology, knowledge scattered across the galaxy, all waiting for species worthy of inheriting them. President Hana looked at the others. "They are asking us to do what they could not. To unite the galaxy peacefully. That is a task that could take generations." "Then we should start now," Ambassador Somin said. "We have already begun. Every alliance we make, every species we help brings us closer to that goal." Admiral Jinho nodded slowly. "The fleet was never meant to make us conquerors. It was meant to make us guardians." "I think I understand that now," Commander Minjun smiled. "The precursors seeded the galaxy with life, hoping we would grow into something better than they were." Part 2. The darkness beyond the door was not empty. As Yuna's submarine drifted through the opening, lights began to activate in sequence, spreading across the vast space like stars being born. She could not see the walls. The cavern extended beyond her lights, beyond her sensors, impossibly large for something carved beneath the ocean floor. Minseo, her submarine pilot, swore quietly. "Doctor, this is not possible. We are 11,000 meters below sea level. There should be solid rock. There should be pressure that crushes everything. But my instruments say there is open space ahead. Kilometers of it." "I see it," Yuna whispered. She was already recording everything, her scientific mind struggling to process what her eyes were showing her. The ships came into view gradually as more lights activated. They hung in the water, suspended by technology that made no sense. There was no corrosion on their hulls, no damage from the immense pressure. They looked like they had been placed there yesterday, not thousands of years ago. Each ship was enormous, easily matching the size of the alien vessels in orbit. But where the Krithian ships were brutal and industrial, these were elegant. Their hulls were black metal that seemed to absorb light, marked with the same glowing blue symbols that covered the door. They were arranged in perfect rows, stretching into the distance until Yuna could no longer see the end. "How many?" she asked. Minseo checked his sensors and rechecked them. "The scanner cannot count them all. Thousands in this section alone, maybe tens of thousands. And doctor, these readings say there are more caverns like this. Many more, all around the world." Kyung, the military engineer President Hana had assigned to the mission, worked frantically at his console. "Power signatures detected. They are dormant but active, like computers in sleep mode. These ships are not dead. They are waiting." Yuna felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold water outside. Waiting for what? Her question was answered when they reached the center of the formation. A tower rose from the ocean floor made of a crystalline material that pulsed with inner light. It was taller than any building on Earth, reaching up toward the cavern's ceiling, Symbols covered every surface, flowing and changing as they watched. "That is a command center," Kyung said. "It has to be. The energy readings are off the scale." Minseo brought the submarine alongside a docking platform that extended from the tower. The platform should not work. It should be flooded, crushed by pressure, destroyed by time. Instead, it seemed to recognize their submarine. A force field shimmered into existence, creating an air pocket. An airlock opened in the tower's wall. "We should report this," Minseo said. "Wait for instructions." Yuna was already putting on her pressure suit. "We have 25 days until Earth surrenders or dies. We do not have time to wait." They stepped onto the platform and artificial gravity pulled them down gently. The air inside the force field was breathable, filtered by technology nobody understood. The airlock closed behind them and they entered the tower. The interior was beautiful. Walls of crystal showed images of space, of stars and planets, of ships traveling between worlds. A holographic interface waited in the center of the room, displaying symbols that shifted as they approached. Kyung moved toward it carefully. "I am going to try to activate it." "Wait," Yuna said. "We do not know what this is. It could be dangerous. So is the alien fleet in orbit." Kyung placed his hand on the interface. The tower responded immediately. Light flowed from the interface up Kyung's arm, not burning but scanning. His DNA, his biology, everything that made him human. The symbols on the walls began to change, cycling through languages. Ancient scripts, dead languages, and then suddenly, modern Korean. A voice spoke from the tower, clear and calm, in perfect Korean. "Biological signature confirmed. Species identification, Homo sapiens. Genetic markers match precursor protocols. Authorization level, inheritor, welcome. Precursor protocols?" Yuna stepped forward. "What does that mean? Who built this place?" The interface changed, showing an image of humanoid figures. They looked almost human, but not quite. Taller, with features that were slightly different. This facility was constructed 247,000 standard years ago by those you may designate as precursors. You are their genetic descendants. This planet was seeded with your species as part of the grand experiment. "We were seeded?" Kyung looked at Yuna. "Like farmers planting crops?" "The grand experiment involved the distribution of genetic material across 1 million worlds." The voice continued. "The goal was to develop spacefaring civilizations that could inherit precursor technology and responsibility. You are the first species to achieve authorization status." The holographic display changed again, showing the alien fleet in orbit. The system had been monitoring the situation. It knew about the threat. Current analysis indicates existential threat to this world. Defense protocol is available. Authorization required to activate fleet assets. Yuna felt her heart racing. Fleet assets. The ships in the cavern. All of them. How many ships are there? This facility contains 142,857 combat vessels. Similar facilities exist at 17 locations globally. Total fleet strength, 1,000 combat vessels. All ships are operational and awaiting crew authorization. Minseo grabbed the nearest console for support. 1 million warships. That is impossible. It is factual, the system replied. Do you wish to authorize defense protocol activation? Yuna thought about the alien ultimatum. She thought about the island that was vaporized. She thought about humanity's fleet in orbit, hopelessly outmatched. 200 ships against 300. And now this. 1 million ships against 300. What will happen if I authorize it? She asked. All fleet assets will activate and rise to defensive positions around this world. Command authority will transfer to designated military leadership of your species. Ships will respond to human commanders and protect this world from external threats. Kyung was already on his radio, trying to reach Admiral Jinho. The signal was poor through all the water and rock, but he got through. Minutes later, President Hana was on the channel too. Yuna explained everything. The tower, the ships, the offer of defense. There was a long silence on the other end. Then President Hana spoke. Dr. Yuna, you are certain these ships will obey us? Not turn against us? The system recognizes humans as inheritors. It is designed to serve us. Another pause. Yuna could imagine the discussions happening on the surface. The fear, the hope, the impossible choice. Accept alien enslavement, or trust ancient technology they did not understand. Admiral Jinho's voice came through. Activate it. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Authorization confirmed, President Hana said. Dr. Yuna, activate the defense protocol. Yuna turned to the interface. Her hand trembled as she reached out. This was the moment that would change everything. For better or worse, humanity would never be the same. "I authorize activation of defense protocol," she said clearly. The tower blazed with light. Energy surged through systems that had slept for millennia. Throughout the cavern, the ships began to wake. Their hulls glowed with blue light as power flowed through ancient circuits. Engines that worked on principles human science did not understand came online. Weapons charged. Shields activated. Fleet activation in progress, the calm voice announced. Estimated time to full deployment, 4 hours. Rising sequence initiating now. The water around them began to churn. The ships were moving. All of them. Rising toward the surface. On the sea floor, the other facilities activated too. In the Atlantic, in the Arctic, in every deep place where the precursors had hidden their gift, 1 million warships began their ascent from the depths where they had waited for humanity to need them. Admiral Jinho watched his sensors from orbit and could not believe the readings. The oceans were alive with movement. Energy signatures were appearing everywhere, rising fast. Within the hour, the first ships would breach the surface. Commander Velmoth would have quite a surprise waiting for him. Humanity was not helpless after all. Part 3. The Pacific Ocean began to boil. That was how the news reports described it, though boiling was not quite accurate. The water churned and rose in massive swells as something enormous displaced it from below. Coastal cities activated tsunami warnings. Millions evacuated to higher ground, thinking a megaquake had struck. Then the first ship broke the surface. It rose slowly, water streaming from its hull, lights blazing across its surface like captured stars. The vessel was 3 kilometers long, black as midnight, graceful despite its size. It climbed into the air using technology that made gravity irrelevant and hung there dripping ocean water back into the sea. Another ship surfaced beside it. Then 10 more, then 100. They rose from the Pacific like a growing forest, each one taking position in a formation that expanded by the minute. The same scene played out across every ocean. The Atlantic gave birth to its fleet. The Indian Ocean released its guardians. Even the frozen Arctic surrendered ships that had slept beneath the ice. Admiral Jinho watched from orbit, his tactical display struggling to track them all. The numbers kept climbing. 10,000 ships, 50,000, 100,000. The system finally gave up counting and just labeled it. Unknown massive fleet. Beside him, Daehyun whispered, "Sir, we are receiving command protocols from the ships. They are requesting connection to our command network. They want to take orders from us." From us? Jinho stared at the impossible armada filling the space between Earth's surface and orbit. "We do not know how to command these vessels. The systems are adapting, sir. They are translating their interfaces into human languages. Controls are being simplified. They want us to lead them." It was true. All across Earth, the ancient ships were reaching out through communication networks, offering themselves to human command. Military officers who had gone to bed commanding a few dozen vessels woke to find hundreds under their authority. The ships organized themselves into fleets, into battle groups, into defensive formations that would have taken human planners months to design. Commander Velmoth was in a meeting when his sensors officer interrupted. "Sir, energy signatures detected. Multiple contacts rising from the planet's ocean." "How many contacts?" Velmoth did not look up from his tactical review. "Sir, the count is still rising. Current number is over 50,000 vessels and climbing." That got Velmoth's attention. 50,000? "That is impossible. Our intelligence said Earth had barely 200 ships." "Confirmed, sir. They are not human designs. Unknown technology. Power signatures exceed our vessels by significant margins." Velmoth rushed to the sensor station. The display showed what his mind struggled to accept. The planet below was surrounded by an emerging fleet that dwarfed his own force. Each contact on the screen represented a vessel the size of his dreadnoughts. There were thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands. Where did they come from? He demanded. "From the ocean, sir." They were underwater. All of them. Velmoth's 4 eyes widened. The Dominion had surveyed Earth thoroughly before this invasion. Deep scans, probe reconnaissance, intelligence gathering. Nothing suggested the primitive humans had this kind of military power. They should have been helpless. This was not helpless. This was a nightmare. "Get me the Dominion command. Priority channel. Now." While the Krithian commander struggled with his new reality, President Hana addressed the world. Every screen on Earth showed her face. Every radio broadcast her words. Humanity needed to hear this from their leader. Citizens of Earth, you have seen the ships rising from our oceans. You have questions. I will answer them as clearly as I can. These vessels were left here by an ancient civilization called the Precursors. They seeded our world with human life over 200,000 years ago. The ships were meant as a gift and a defense. They recognize us as their inheritors. They will protect us from the alien threat. She paused, letting that sink in. In cities around the world, people stopped running. They looked up at the sky, at the ships taking position overhead, and felt something they had not felt in days. Hope. The Crithian Dominion gave us an ultimatum: surrender or die. But Earth does not surrender. We will not become slaves to an empire that thinks might makes right. We have the strength to defend ourselves now, and we will use it. The transmission ended. The response from the public was electric. Terror transformed into determination. The panicked evacuation stopped. People returned to the streets not in fear but in celebration. Earth had teeth now, sharp ones. Admiral Jinho received a communication request from the Crithian flagship. He accepted it, his face calm despite the racing of his heart. Commander Velmoth appeared on the screen, and Jinho noted the fear in those alien eyes. I am Admiral Jinho of Earth Defense Command. State your business, Commander. Your ships, Velmoth said without preamble. Where did you get them? Our intelligence indicated your species was technologically primitive. Your intelligence was incomplete. We have resources you did not account for. Those are not human designs. The technology is far beyond your current level. You cannot possibly command vessels of that sophistication. Jinho smiled without humor, and yet they are taking my orders right now. Watch. He sent a simple command through the network. 10 of the ancient ships moved in perfect synchronization, forming a barrier between Earth and the Crithian fleet. Their weapons ports glowed with charging energy. The display was clear. Earth could respond to any threat. Velmoth's skin turned a darker shade. You would attack us? We are part of the Dominion, the most powerful empire in this sector of space. You gave us 30 days to surrender, Jinho replied. I am revising that timeline. You have 12 hours to leave Earth space. Every minute you remain, you risk total destruction. Your shields will not protect you from these weapons. Your armor will not save you. Leave now or test whether I am bluffing. This is an act of war against the Dominion. No, Commander. Your arrival was an act of war against Earth. I am simply responding with appropriate force. 12 hours. Choose wisely. Jinho ended the transmission. Around him, the bridge crew sat in stunned silence. They had just threatened one of the most powerful military forces in known space. There was no going back from this, sir, Dahyun said quietly. What if they call our bluff? Then we find out if these ancient ships are as powerful as they appear, Jinho replied. He looked at the fleet surrounding Earth, at the million vessels that had emerged from the deep. But I do not think it is a bluff. I think we can win. Aboard his flagship, Velmoth held an emergency meeting with his senior officers. His science officer, Teklar, had been analyzing the human ships, and the results were disturbing. The technology matches descriptions from Dominion historical archives, Teklar reported. The Precursors. They were the first civilization to achieve interstellar travel, over 1 million years ago. They vanished long before the Dominion rose to power. Legend says they seeded life across the galaxy and left guardians to protect it. You are saying these humans are telling the truth? These ships are precursor designs? The evidence supports it. And if so, we cannot win this engagement. Precursor technology was beyond anything we have ever developed. A single one of their ships could potentially destroy our entire fleet. Velmoth looked at the tactical display. His 300 ships against 1 million. The math was brutal. Even if the humans only had a fraction of precursor capabilities, they vastly outnumbered him. Send a message to Dominion Command, he ordered. Tell them Earth is not a suitable target for integration. Tell them the humans have precursor backing. Request immediate retreat authorization. The response came back within hours. The Dominion, faced with the prospect of war against precursor technology, chose wisdom. Retreat authorization granted. Earth was to be left alone, added to the Forbidden Worlds list, never to be touched by Dominion forces. Velmoth watched the countdown timer. 11 hours until the human deadline expired. He would not wait that long. The Crithian fleet began activating their jump drives, preparing to leave this cursed system. He sent one final message to Admiral Jinho. "You have won this day, human. But know this. The galaxy is vast and dangerous. You have made powerful enemies. The Dominion will remember." "Let them remember," Jinho replied. "And let them tell others. Earth is not defenseless. We never were." The Crithian ships vanished one by one, jumping back into the void between stars. Within an hour, Earth space was clear. The threat was gone. Humanity had survived. On the surface, celebrations erupted in every city. People danced in streets, cried with relief, embraced strangers. They had been so close to extinction, and now they were free. The ancient ships remained in orbit, silent guardians watching over the world they were built to protect. Admiral Jinho allowed himself a moment of exhaustion. They had won, against all odds, against an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Earth had won. But this was only the beginning. The galaxy now knew that humanity had precursor technology that would bring new challenges, new threats, new opportunities. Earth's quiet isolation was over. The deep had given up its secrets. Now humanity had to learn what to do with them. Part 4. 3 months after the Crithian fleet retreated, Earth was still adjusting to its new reality. The ancient ships remained active, though most had returned to ocean stations for maintenance and study. Humanity now possessed technology that would take centuries to fully understand, and Dr. Yuna found herself leading the effort to unlock its secrets. The underwater facilities were far more than just ship hangars. They contained vast archives of knowledge, databases that held the accumulated wisdom of the precursor civilization. Yuna's team worked around the clock, translating alien concepts into human understanding, discovering wonders and horrors in equal measure. The medical technology alone was revolutionary. The precursors had mastered biological science to a degree that seemed like magic. Diseases that plagued humanity for millennia could be cured with treatments from the archives. Aging itself could be slowed, perhaps even stopped. The data suggested precursors lived for thousands of years. But there were darker discoveries too. Weapons technology that could crack planets like eggs. Devices that could collapse stars. Tools of destruction so terrible that the precursors had locked them behind multiple security layers, with warnings in every language they knew. They were afraid of their own power, Yuna told President Hana during a briefing. The archives contain historical records. The precursors did not die out naturally. They destroyed themselves. Civil wars that used weapons capable of sterilizing entire star systems. By the time they realized what they had done, it was too late. Only a few survived long enough to create the seeding program. President Hana studied the data with troubled eyes. They left these ships for us. These weapons. Are we destined to repeat their mistakes? That depends on us, Yuna replied. The archives contain a message. A warning. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. They hope we will be wiser than they were. The warning seemed prescient because Earth was already struggling with its newfound strength. World governments argued about how to use the fleet. Some wanted to explore the stars, establishing human colonies across the galaxy. Others wanted to keep the ships purely defensive, avoiding any actions that might provoke alien empires. A politician named G1 led a growing movement questioning the militarization of Earth. "We have become what we feared," she argued in speeches broadcast worldwide, "a species defined by military might. These ships consume enormous resources. We should decommission most of them. Focus on peaceful development." Admiral Jinho attended one of these debates, invited to present the military perspective. "The galaxy is not peaceful," he stated plainly. "The Dominion alone has conquered 847 worlds. There are other empires out there, some worse than the Dominion. Without the fleet, Earth would be enslaved right now. We need these ships, but do we need 1,000,000 of them?" G1 countered. "That is not defense. That is preparation for conquest." The debate raged on with no easy answers. Meanwhile, the galaxy was taking notice of Earth. The Dominion's retreat had not gone unnoticed. Other civilizations began sending messages, requests for diplomatic contact. Some were friendly, some were cautious. A few were barely concealed threats. Earth's first interstellar diplomat, a woman named Somin, found herself negotiating with species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. She sat across tables from beings whose civilizations were ancient when humans were still learning to farm, and tried to convince them that Earth deserved a place in the galactic community. "You have precursor technology. an ambassador from the Thalian Accord said during one meeting. That makes you dangerous. How do we know you will not use those ships to dominate as others have? Because we choose not to, Soman replied. We did not ask for this power. It was left to us. But having it does not change who we are. Humanity values cooperation, not domination. Pretty words. But the Dominion said similar things when they first achieved space travel. Now look at them. It was a fair point, and Soman knew it. Words were easy. Actions would prove humanity's character. But what actions? Earth needed to demonstrate its intentions through deeds, not speeches. The opportunity came sooner than expected. A distress signal reached Earth from a colony world called Tarsus IV. It was a human settlement, established decades ago by pioneers who left Earth before the Crithian crisis. The colony was under attack by raiders, and they were calling for help. President Hanna convened an emergency meeting. This is a test, she said. The galaxy is watching to see how we use our power. If we ignore our own colonists, we show weakness. If we respond with overwhelming force, we look like tyrants. We need to find balance. Admiral Jinho proposed sending a small force, 10 ships from the ancient fleet, commanded by young officers who had trained on the new systems. We help our people, but we do not crush the raiders like insects. We show restraint, precision. We demonstrate that we can use force responsibly. The decision was made. Captain Minjun, a young officer who had distinguished himself in the orbital defense, was given command of the mission. He was nervous but determined. This would be humanity's first military action with precursor ships. The galaxy would judge them by how it went. Minjun's small fleet arrived at Tarsus IV within a day, traveling faster than light using technology humans were still learning to understand. The colony was indeed under attack, but something was wrong. The raiders were too well organized, too well equipped. Their ships bore no markings, but Minjun's sensors detected familiar energy signatures. Sir, his tactical officer reported, those are Dominion designs. Modified, but definitely Dominion technology. Minjun understood immediately. This was not a simple pirate raid. This was a covert operation, probably designed to draw out Earth's fleet for study, to test human responses and capabilities. The Dominion had not given up on Earth, they had just changed tactics. Hail the enemy ships, Minjun ordered. Let us see if they will talk. The response came quickly. A Crithian face appeared on screen, trying to appear neutral. We are independent contractors, human. This is not your concern. Leave now. You are attacking human colonists, Minjun replied. That makes it very much my concern. Withdraw your forces and this ends peacefully. You have 10 ships, human. We have 30. The math does not favor you. Minjun smiled coldly. You are thinking in terms of old technology. Let me show you new math. The engagement lasted less than 5 minutes. Minjun's ships moved like nothing the Crithians had seen before. Faster, more maneuverable, shields that shrugged off weapons that should have destroyed them. The precursor vessels dismantled the raider fleet with surgical precision, disabling engines and weapons but avoiding kills when possible. When it was over, 30 raider ships drifted helpless in space, and Minjun had not lost a single vessel. He opened a channel to the Crithian commander. Your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are alive. You can repair your vessels and leave this system. Before you go, deliver a message to whoever sent you. Earth does not seek conquest, but we will protect our people. Test us again at your own risk. The Crithian commander hesitated, then transmitted data. Intelligence about Dominion black operations against Earth, locations of other covert missions, proof that the Dominion had never truly given up. It was a peace offering, information in exchange for mercy. Minjun accepted it. Your crew will not be harmed, go home. Tell them what you saw here. Word of the engagement spread through the galaxy faster than light travel. Humanity had power but chose mercy. They could have destroyed the raiders easily, but did not. It was the opposite of how most species behaved when they first achieved military superiority. Ambassador Soman found her negotiations suddenly easier. Other civilizations were curious now, cautiously impressed. Perhaps these humans were different. Perhaps they really did want cooperation instead of domination, but not everyone was pleased. The Dominion recalled its covert operations, fearing further embarrassment. Several smaller empires began fortifying their borders, worried that Earth might be hiding even more ships. Fear and respect were often two sides of the same coin. On Earth, the debate continued. Jiwon acknowledged that Minjun had handled the situation well, but argued it proved her point. We need wisdom more than weapons, she said. Captain Minjin showed restraint, and that earned us more than any display of force could have. Imagine if we had sent 100 ships instead of 10. The galaxy would see us as brutal, not just. Admiral Jinho found himself agreeing. Perhaps the precursor's real gift was not the ships themselves, but the responsibility they force upon us. We must be worthy of this power, or it will corrupt us as it corrupted them. Dr. Yuna continued her work in the archives, searching for more precursor wisdom. She found a final message, one that had been locked until humanity proved it could wield power without immediately abusing it. The message was simple but profound. If you are reading this, you have passed the first test. You have power but did not use it for conquest. Now comes the harder question. What will you do with your inheritance? Will you hoard it or share it? Will you guard it jealously or lift others up? The choice is yours. Choose well. The galaxy is watching.